Thank you, Jesse, and I thank you folks for spending a little time with me this afternoon. Let me get a sound check, make sure we're good to go. Okay, thank you. What I'm hoping to do today is spend a little time talking about my sandbox, as I like to call it, which is the market that will start trading at 5 o'clock in the evening and will trade till the U.S. opens in the morning, or the Globex market, or the after hours market. Not to be confused with the equity market that trades after hours till about 7 o'clock. This is all futures, just about any market anywhere in the world now. Didn't used to be that way. But before I go too far, because I like to get a bit of a profile with the group that I'm working with, how many of you have traded in the Globex, the futures market, after hours? And how many of you have traded futures, please? All right, it looks like the majority of you are not familiar with the Globex, so I think you will find these few minutes that we spend together of interest. And don't feel bad, because there are not a lot of folks who are very familiar with this market. My claim to fame, if I have such, is that I've been with involved with this market from day one, and it's only been around since the early 90s. So you can pretty much, if you look at the bio, get a ballpark of how old I am. I've been around in this business a long time. But I don't think you'll meet anyone that has been involved with or traded to Globex longer than I have, maybe as long as I have. And I will tell you, just so you can get a feel for how far this market has come and how far it's really, and I apologize for that. My marketing folks and my wife conjured this slide up. I didn't know it was in there till just a few minutes ago, and I'm not smart enough to know how to get it out. But at any rate, um, the Globex market was originally created with a partnership, or through a partnership, with the CME and Reuters, and it was originated in the early 90s, as I said, and it was to accommodate currency traders. Now, most of you have seen the Chicago Mercantile, the CME. You've seen the floor traders with all the hand signals, which probably are a dying breed now that most everything is going electronic. But at night, you had currencies were, trading around the clock, as they always have, and they would have a handful of traders on the floor to take orders. And, it just wasn't very productive. It wasn't very profitable for the CME, so they created this electronic system. Now, what is of interest when I talk about this electronic system is it is considered the grandfather of all electronic platforms. And that's what I think, I want to point out, that most of the platforms that you trade on today originated from this experiment between the CME and Reuters. Now, I will tell you, in those days, you had to be approved by the NFA to have a Globex terminal. You could only enter orders on a specified computer that was set up only to take these orders. The fills were awful. You had often slippage. You had $25 round turn, if that tells you anything. You could trade the S&Ps, you could trade the bonds, you could trade the currencies, and that was pretty much, and oil. And that was pretty much it in those days. So as I said, it was, an experience, to say the least. Now, it probably cost somewhere, I'm trying to remember, a few $1,000s to obtain one of these Globex terminals, and then roughly about $1,000 a month to maintain it. And as I said, you had to be approved by the NFA. And of course, today, anyone with a laptop or a computer and a few $1,000s in their account, they can now access markets from around the world. And to me, that's just fascinating to have been involved with it from day one to see how far that it's really come. It used to be very illiquid. Now this market is very liquid, and it's a very different marketplace than it used to be. And it's growing and is becoming ever more important now that I think you will all agree with me, we're in a global economy and we're in a global marketplace. And that will continue. I don't see how that can change. And that's what we're going to spend time talking about this afternoon, is basically how to understand this market, how to use it, how to access it. Now, most think that the trading day starts, and if you are a trader or you feel like and believe that futures are what really move the market, which is of my opinion, the trading day really begins at 5 o'clock. So Friday's trading day for my chat room and what we do, and I think it should be considered this way by anyone who wants to take part in the global market, really starts at 5 o'clock in the evening. And that's when my day starts. So at 5 o'clock till 8:30 in the morning, that is the Globex market. We have a chat room where we have around the clock now. We just used to be just myself and calling trades from 5 in the evening till around 3 or 4 in the morning, sometimes 5 in the morning. But now we have, as far as I know, and we've done a little research and haven't found one yet, the only 24-hour live chat room that is staffed by moderators around the clock. And so we're very proud of that. But my part, there's several of us that call trades around the clock. My part is from 5 p.m. till 8:30 in the Globex market, and that's what we will focus on today. Now, as you know, right now the S&P's closed at 3:15. They reopened at 3:30. They're now trading. They'll close at 4:15, and between 4:15 and 5, that's when the traders will reset, or I should say the platforms reset their computers. They calculate margin and what have you. 5 o'clock, we begin the new day. So in other words, at 3:30 to 4:15, you can continue to trade. If you get out of the trade at 4:15, you will not have a margin call. If you're in that trade after 4:15 and when the market's open at 5 o'clock, even though it's just 45 minutes later, you will have a margin call on your account. Yeah, Walter, I know DTI has a 24-hour chat room. I'm very familiar with it, but it's not staffed with live trades, someone calling trades, moderators and professionals in the room at all times. The room is open, but it's not a 24-hour room with moderators calling trades. It's very different than what I'm talking about, I promise you, because I'm very familiar with what DTI does and how they do it. All right, so I think we all will agree we're in a 24-hour market, and I think, if you agree with that and you're just trading during the day and not really accessing or understanding what takes place in the Globex, you're leaving some 17 hours of valuable information and information that can help you become a better investor and a better trader. Now, I feel very strongly when I make this statement because I've been doing this, as I said, for a very long time. And if you're interested in learning how to trade futures or you're interested in improving your futures trading, the Globex market is probably the best place, not probably, I will say it is the best place in which to do that because it's a slower moving market. You don't have near the volatility. Today's a good example. It's a better trending market at night. Here's my favorite. You don't have these high frequency trading programs to mess up the trend. Now, I'm not going to tell you there are not computers that are active in this space at night, for example, in the Japanese or German or European markets, but they're not these high frequency trading programs because, as many of you know, these programs are developed by quants, mathematicians, but we like to call them the quants, and these volume models that they've created require a tremendous amount of volume, and you just don't have that kind of volume at night, so they're just not active at this time of the evening. So you have a lot more logical and sane market, in my opinion, if there's such thing as a sane market at night than you do during the day. And I have spent most of my career developing trade signals that only work at night. Now, even though we're trading the E-mini at night, just like we trade the E-mini during the day, it's still a very different environment at night than it is during the day. Now, you have less volatility. Less volatility means tighter stops and less risk. At night, we generally use about a 2.5 to 2.75 point stop. And you could use 2.5 point stops during the day. Even if you have the market figured out correctly, you can still get stopped out with 2.5, 2.75 points. You have a very good chance of staying in a trade with a 2.75 point stop in this environment. And if you're using 2.75 point stops, you have less volatility. Obviously, that equals less risk. Now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this today because our time is limited, but it is also an excellent place if you want to hedge a portfolio. And, just real quick, the sum of it is if you have a $50,000 portfolio, you can hedge it with one S&P contract, 100, two S&P contracts, E-minis, so forth and so on. Now, that's very important because even if you're not going to trade futures or trade in the Globex, if you have an account and you go home one afternoon and you're fat and happy like today, if you were long equities, you had a good day and you're happy. And then tonight you wake up in the morning and you find out that something went bump in the night, as I like to say. Obviously, in this situation, it's probably some bad news about Greece. And the market opens down in the morning. At least in this situation, you have an opportunity. You have the ability to hedge your portfolio or to take advantage of the news and get ahead of the markets before they open at 8:30 in the morning. All right, so the E-mini is a perfect way to trade. We all know that. This is just a different time and space with a different set of rules. Okay, now, I'm not sure why this is, but this just seems to always happen this way. And as I said, I've been doing this as long as anyone you will meet. How the news affects the markets, we often have news, but it always seems to happen and come out at night or after the U.S. markets have closed. I can give you example after example. For example, the Lehman debacle. I was involved with Wall Street firms for most of my career, and I can tell you that when Lehman started having capital issues, most of the street knew about it before Sunday, but the news only broke Sunday evening, and when it did, these markets fell out of bed. Then on the heels of Lehman, it was Bear Stearns. It happened on a Sunday night while most in the U.S. were still sleeping or just getting ready to go to bed. The tsunami in Japan, the crises in Europe, the original one. I know it seems like an ongoing crisis now with Greece, where we had the pigs involved, and there was more than just Greece at the time. Now again, we have Greece. There was the Ukrainian situation, on and on and on. It just seems like whenever there's news, it happens at night, and you don't have to wait till in the morning to figure out what to do with it, because if you're in the Globex, you have an account, you understand this market, you can take advantage of it way before the markets open at 8:30 in the morning. Now, the times I will refer to as we move forward here are all central times because we have people in our chat room from all over the world. So we just pick the time zone that I live in. I live on the Gulf Coast in Mobile, Alabama, if any of you are familiar with that, right close to the Florida line. And so we're in the central time zone. So I know that many of you have asked yourself, what's the difference between an average trader and a successful one? And I'm just going to touch on this a minute because we think this is important in the way we conduct and educate the members in our room. And we think that an effective plan has to involve a 24-hour market. Now, there are key market times just like they are during the day. For example, 12:30 in the morning. I know a lot of you are thinking, I have a job, I have children to raise, I'm not going to be up at 12:30 in the morning. We know that, but there are, believe it or not, a lot of folks who stay up with us and trade at this time of night. I would say that most of the trades that we put on take place between 5 in the evening and midnight, the majority of them. It just depends on what the markets are doing. But key market times, for example, 12:30, which is 30 minutes before the DAX futures in Germany open. That's usually an interesting time to trade. You need to know when these various markets that affect the S&Ps open go on break, because they can affect how the S&Ps will move. Then we have the proprietary signals and indicators that I've spent my basically entire career developing, that I'm comfortable with and I know that work. Now this one will probably throw you a little bit, Greekisms, but it's just another way for general signals and events that occur, in the Globex on a regular basis. And Greekisms are, it's a nickname that the folks in our room gave to these signals that I've spent most of my career, as I said, developing. There's some 20 of them. We're not going to have time to go over all of those, but I'll give you an example of what one or two of those will look like here in a minute. And here's what's really important: money management. This is what and where I see most individuals fall short in their trading discipline, is they do not have an effective money management system. I'll touch on that later as well. All right, key market times. Now, this market is some 16 roughly hours that it's trading, when the U.S. is not open. And we break it down into basically two sessions. We have the Asian control that starts at 5 in the evening and goes till midnight. This is where the Asian markets basically affect how the S&Ps will trade. Now, the Asian control, the hours from 5 to 12, as I just said, the markets that you want to watch are the Hang Seng and the Nikkei. Now, I know there are a lot of other markets, such as Australia and Korea and what have you, that are open and trading. But the reason we don't follow those markets is because they just do not affect the S&P and how the S&P is going to move. Now, the Hang Seng, China, of course, the Nikkei in Japan, they're going to be markets to watch, because they are the second and third largest economies in the world behind the U.S., and they will have an effect on the S&Ps. Now, if you really stop and think about this, and this is just fascinating to me, China is a communist closed system. And of course, they control their economy. It's in the hands of a very few. We all know that. But yet, because of the way they operate, they walk and talk and look like a capitalistic system. Now, a few years ago, you really didn't care about the PMI or GDP in China or the inflation rates. But guys and gals, today you better know that information, because it will affect your portfolio and how these markets can open on any given day, up or down, depending on how that information comes out. And we provide that information at night in our chat room, or you can access it yourself through various websites that are free and easy to obtain. European control. Now, back on the Hang Seng, the Nikkei, as I said, we're only trying to follow those markets that can affect the S&Ps. In other words, the Hang Seng and the Nikkei, and then later the European markets. The control there is from 12 to 5 a.m. in the morning. Those markets are generally the DAX and the FTSE. Of course, the DAX in Germany, because Germany is the largest economy. I think England is self-explanatory. London is still considered, the financial center of the world, although New York would argue with that, as I would. But these are the markets that can affect the S&Ps, and it's real simple. In the Globex at night, and again, think about the word Globex. It stands for Global Marketplace. We're only interested in those markets or that news or that event that move the S&Ps. The international markets play a key role in how the U.S. markets are going to trade. That's what's important. 5 years ago, you didn't care about the GDP or PMI in China. But today, guys and gals, you better know this information, because it can affect your trading and your portfolio. All right, I'm going to stop there for just a second and see if there are any questions before we continue rather than wait till the end. I'll take a few questions now about anything we've talked about or anything we haven't talked about. Yeah, Walter, there is, the 6 a.m. markets, what they're doing is they're transitioning from the Globex to the, pre-U.S. markets. And so you have a lot of movement at that time, but you also have a lot of movement at night between midnight and 3, 4, 5 a.m. in the morning once Europe opens. Asia can be active, but not quite as active as Europe is. So are there any questions so far? Mark, that's a very good question. Trading platforms and brokers, and we don't really care what platform or broker you use as long as your platform has a dome and you're getting good fills and executions and reasonable margin rates if you carry something home overnight. Gain Capital, which is the OEC platform, Ninja, TradeStation, Thinkorswim, Options Express, but I'm not sure I don't think they have a dome on their system. Anyone who has a platform where you can open a futures account because it will allow you now to access the markets around the clock. Now, Infinity is an IB, but I'm not sure. I think they represent several different platforms. But Infinity, we have several of our members that are with Infinity. Now, what information you're not able to get on your platform, we provide you in our chat room. Dome, Ashley, is a depth of market, and it's usually that it looks like a ladder with volume, bid, and ask. It's a volume indicator. The reason it's important at night is because we use it as one of our primary indicators. Now, this is the times of day. As I was telling Walter earlier, we have Dr. Frank Stanley. Some of you may have heard of him. I bet you Walter has. He's familiar with DTI. Dr. Stanley's been around a long time. He's known for his options. He calls Russell and NASDAQ futures. He's in the room at 5 a.m. till 7 in the morning. He also, being a psychologist who has years and years and years of trading under his belt, has developed a course on the emotions and psychology of trading, which he teaches in our room as part of our room. We have from 8 to 10, we have Dirty Harry, and we're real good about giving folks in our room and our traders nicknames, as you can see. And I will say this, I am very proud, and I don't know if it's by design or by accident. The people in our room are the members now I'm talking about. I'm proud of our moderators as well. But the members in our room are very friendly, very helpful. They go out of their way to help new members, and we think that is just, great. We have Dirty Harry, who trades the E-mini S&Ps and some other futures contracts from 8 to 10. Then we have trades called from 10 to 11 on most of the indexes. I don't know if you've heard of John Anders, but John Anders has been around a while. And he does credit spreads and option setups, very dependable, very consistent trading profits. In fact, all of these fellows have done real well this year. I'm quite proud of their results. Then you have West Coast Roy. We call Roy. He lives in California, of course. West Coast does Murray lines and volume profile, which a lot of folks find fascinating. So we have a very diverse group of moderators calling trades. And then, as I said, from 3:15 to 5, there's really not much going on. I pick up at 5 o'clock and go to about 3 or 4 in the morning. Cam, no. That data protocol doesn't affect anything we're doing. It's just another way for them to generate some revenue. Okay, so as I was saying, the key times for the Globex, the times that I will be calling trades. In fact, as soon as I leave this webinar, and you're good company, I will go into my chat room and we'll start our night trading or our day. I cannot overemphasize this. I mean, guys and gals, if you're not at least having a basic understanding of this market, checking it, maybe once or twice during the course of the night in the morning, you're leaving 17 hours of valuable information that can really help your investing and your trading. Even if you're not going to trade in this space, it's important that you know this market, you understand a little bit of how it works. Now, I know most of you are thinking, you just can't stay up all night, as I said earlier, but if you ignore the night session, you're leaving a lot of information on the table. And that's one of the reasons we created the 24-hour room, so you can trade when it's convenient for you to trade. You can trade those markets that you enjoy trading the most and trade with the moderator du jour at that time of day. Now, as I said earlier, I have spent, a good bit of my life in this environment. And there are certain pivot times, when the markets probably are going to move, just like Walter said, at 6 a.m. in the morning, you see some movement in the market. You'll see a lot of movement in the markets at around 10:30 when in the morning Central Time. That's when the cash markets in Europe close. So it's kind of important that you know these various times. You have a basic feel and at least the ability to get real-time quotes on the DAX, FTSE, Hang Seng, and the Nikkei. Then we talked about the dome, and then the other correlated markets that we follow, the bonds, the yen, and the euro. Now, here of late, where we have all this, as we like to call it, financial engineering that's taking place, and we have these currency wars that are being conducted. Now, you will never hear a central banker or a head of a bank in any country or the president or premier of a country say that, we're in the process of a currency war. They're never going to use that term. In fact, they'll deny it, uh, each and every time they're asked that question. But in reality, that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing currency wars where Japan and Europe are trying to devalue their currencies because they believe that's the best way to help their economies and deal with whatever deflation they may perceive. So the point I'm making is where you didn't have to in the older, not older days, but in the last few years, you really didn't have to pay attention to the currencies at night. But as I said, we're trying to find anything that affects the markets that moves the S&P. That's what we're looking for. Where the S&P moves most everything during the day, it's everything else that moves the S&P at night. Now here's an example of a Greekism. We'll see if this holds true Monday, but with the big run we've had, it's hard to say. Now, Greekisms, as I said, are general events or signals that occur on a regular basis in the Globex. And as I said, there's some 20 of them. I was just going to give you one or two so you could get a flavor for what we're talking about. But if I find something, or you find something that works 75 to 80% of the time, then you should adopt it. And that's what I've done over the years. When I find an event or a signal that works 85 to 80, 75% of the time, then I adopt it until it proves otherwise. And that's generally what these are. And someone tells you they have an indicator or a signal that works 100% of the time, I would definitely question that because I don't know if anything works 100% of the time. But options Monday, after options close on Friday, we're in triple witch tomorrow. Generally, the market will open up at least for a couple of hours, may not stay up all day Monday. And you say, well, why is that, valuable information? Because in the Globex, you can start trading at 5 o'clock on Sunday evening. So you don't have to wait till Monday, especially if there's been news, to take advantage of the markets and what you want to do. And if you know that there's a high probability that the market's going to open up on Monday and you're short on Sunday, then that tells you you need to be looking for a place to get out because there's a high probability this market will turn around because it's going to open up when the U.S. opens 75 to 80% of the time. They're still settling positions from Friday, and that's a lot of the reason you see that particular event. Overnight short squeeze. This is probably one of my favorite trade setups of all the Greekisms and trades that we make, and it's real simple. When the market closes at the top tick of the last hour of trading, that's important. So let's say like today, I think the high of the day, I'm trying to, just go from memory. The high of the day was 19 and a quarter, I believe, and we're trading around 21.14. So we did not close near the highs of the day of the last hour of trading because, we traded around 21.15, 21.16, where it's pretty close. But what we'll do is I'll call a sell signal into the close. We'll sell them right around 4 o'clock to 4:15 before the futures close. And we've put that position on, and hopefully we can scalp 2 or 3 points when the markets open at 5 p.m. Again, this is one of our most profitable and consistent trades that we make. A lot of times what you will see is if you have bad news, like on a Friday, you have like an employment number and it surprised the market and the market's gapped down, and they spent the rest of the day working their way back up, and then there's a short squeeze. They close near the high of the last hour of trading. That is an excellent trade setup to sell them into the close. All right, I'll stop here and see if there are any more questions. All right, money management. I cannot express how important as a trader I think money management is. And if I had to point to one single uh, weakness that I find most traders have in their system, it's a lack of money management. They may have an excellent discipline for order entry, to get in, to get out of the market, for placing stops and what have you, but if you do not have a good money management system, guys and gals, you're just not going to be consistent in your results. And if you can't be consistent, then you're wasting your time. Yeah, you might make money for a week or 2 weeks or even months, but it's not going to be consistent if you do not have proper money management. It will make or break you. Now, I think we all know about the overtrading. We've seen it. We've done it. We know that that's a no-no. Trying to hit home runs. How many times have we done it, seen it? Not withdrawing profits on a regular basis. Now, this one probably you're scratching your head over, but to me it is a real psychological boost, and let me tell you how I look at it. You spend a lot of your money, you spend a lot of your time in front of computers, you spend a lot of time educating yourself, trying to learn these markets, and just like in any endeavor, if you reward yourself for your efforts, you're more apt to do that gets you success each and every time. Whether it's golf or tennis or trading, there are techniques that if you develop those techniques and you practice them and you become disciplined to use them on a regular basis, you become more successful. By rewarding yourself by taking money out of your account monthly or quarterly, and that's what we do in our room, that helps you and reinforces what you're doing and how you do it. Here's another one that really gets our folks in trouble, or most traders in trouble, I should say, is too many or not enough contracts. Now, you're a one contract trader. Next thing you know, you're behind on a trade, so you add on another. And then you're behind, even more, so you add a third, and then you add a fourth. And then you have a really bad day, and you lick your wounds and you start trading again with one contract, it's going to be really hard to get that loss back because, you lost it on 4 contracts. Now you're trying to get it back on 1. It's a never-ending cycle. And what we do is when you join our room, the first thing we encourage you to do is establish a goal. So let's just say if your goal is to make a couple of $1,000s a month, and that's what the folks in our room are there to do, is to supplement their income. So if your goal is to make $2,000 a month, and they're assuming 20 trading days out of each month, well, the math's simple. All you have to do is make about $100 a day, and you can reach your goal. Now, guys and gals, it's not hard to make $100 trading futures. It really isn't. But do you need to trade 10 contracts to make the $100? No. If your goal is $2,000, you can do that trading 1 or 2 contracts. So we advise you to first develop a goal. Then, when you develop your goal, you set a unit. And let's just say your unit is made up of 2 contracts. So if we put on a trade, I'll say put on a half unit or a full unit. You never change your unit. You get stopped out with 1 unit. You start over with 1 unit, but you don't ever change your unit unless you gain confidence and you just want to supplement your income and you want to change the size of your unit. But you always use the same unit. That way you're consistently trading with the same number of contracts no matter what. Now, we like, hopefully, to get a couple of points profit on a trade. And if, let's say, you're trading 1 unit with 2 contracts, and let's just say, let's take today. If we sold tonight, they're going to probably close around 21.14, it looks like, on the September contract. And let's say they go to 21.11 and we sell them at 21.14. We're right about the trade. We take half the unit down. We've made 3 points. Then we take the other unit and we bring our stops down so we can't lose money on the trade now. And we keep that other unit as a runner. And that's when we can have our really good nights, because you only need 1 or 2 or 3 nights. But you want to average, like I said, if your goal is to make $2,000 a month, you want to average 100, because some nights you're going to lose money. You're not going to make money every night. You know it, and I know it. So we harp on money management. We think it's very important, and we teach it, talk about it, educate it all the time. All right, now real quick, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. These are some of the indicators we provide in our chat room, so you don't have to go out and spend your money to get this information. We have a Dome-O-Matic, we have, volume MAC histograms. Most of this, we're a Ninja affiliate. It's furnished to us by Ninja. So if you log into our room, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see the Asian and European U.S. quotes over to the left. You're going to see the chart on the right that's a Renko bars. You're probably familiar with that. If you're not, we teach you how to use those and what to do with them. Then there's a Dome-O-Matic. That's a nickname we gave the dome that basically automates the volume so you don't have to look at the dome and do it yourself. So these are the key components that make up what we do in our trade room: key market times, proprietary signals, Greek isms, and money management. Now, I know a lot of you may be thinking, not only is he talking about staying up at night, like I said, you choose the time of day that best suits you to trade. But this is not complicated. I know you think, well, he's talking about the Japanese markets and European markets. Trust me, they're very easy to understand and follow. And, you can learn this in a very short period of time. As I said in the very beginning, you want to learn to trade futures, the Globex is the place to do it. All right, now, this is an interesting story. This is called, I think it's traderschool.org. I didn't know this website existed till about a month ago. This fella is like a food critic, where he goes into a restaurant, you don't know he's there, and he judges your restaurant. Well, he does this to chat rooms. And I'll be honest with you, you can go to his website, and first time he wrote a scathing report. I don't think he understood our chat room or what we did or how we did it. And then some of our members got wind of it, or someone did, and started, making comments about his judgment of our room. And someone even posted their returns and their statement, which is what you see. And he totally reversed his position and rewrote about our room. This is an actual brokerage statement from some of our managed accounts that mirror our trading in the chat room. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. You're welcome to request it from our support team, and they'll send it to you. Basically, a $20,000 deposit in June through April was at $32,000. Actual statement. Actual trading. All right. So here's what we're going to offer if you're interested in learning, and this is a very inexpensive way to do this. I'm going to teach a 2-hour course on July the 14th of how to navigate and understand the Globex. You get 30 days, and guys and gals, this is really the real value of this offer. You get 30 days immediately into our trade room. You're going to get Dr. Stanley's Options Course 101, which is a 2-hour course. He used to sell this course for hundreds of dollars. So you get to join our room for 30 days. You can come in our room and trade with our moderators. See if you like what we do. It works the way I said. Again, these are the professional traders. These are all 20-year plus experienced traders in our room. Very nice guys to work with. We don't have any gal traders or female traders yet. Hopefully we'll have one soon. I'm bad about that, guys and gals, because I live in the South, I guess. So you get 30 days, access to the chat room. First Tuesday, we have a webinar that's conducted by one of our moderators. It could be volume profile. It could be on options. It could be the psychology of the markets. It could be on the Globex. We mix it up because we like to educate as much as possible. You'll get the market times indicators. You'll get all of the indicators. We don't just feed you a couple and then say, okay, pay us more money and you'll get some more. We give you everything that we do and how we do it. You'll get your low risk, high reward trade setups. You'll get your useful tools and trade signals and indicators. So you're going to get the intro to the 24-hour market. We're going to have the 2-hour course, the Options 101 course that Dr. Stanley has provided and taught. It's $97. That gives you the 30 days access to the chat room plus the 2-hour course. And then if you decide to stay because it works the way I say it does or the way you understand it to be, then it's $147 a month. Now, I'll make 2 comments. I don't think you're going to find a 24-hour chat room anywhere for that price. I'm not sure there is one. As I said before, staff with live moderators around the clock. There's always one of us in the room. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 of us. But here's my guarantee. If you don't learn one technique or one indicator that makes you a better trader or one system that makes you a better trader, then you call me. As long as you made an effort and you attended the webinars and tried, the room, you call me and say, Bill, I was in your room for 30 days and I didn't learn anything, I'll give you your $97 back. All right, so that's pretty much it. I'll take whatever questions you have. about anything we've talked about, or as I said, haven't talked about? Ashley, that's something we've all done. And like I said, if you have a good money management system, there's a way to deal with that. No, there's no watch sales, Walter, like stocks to worry about. Trading on futures are taxed at a very different rate, and you don't have to worry about watch sales or any of that because you're literally getting in and out. I mean, you may make 10 or 12 trades a day in our room. Walter, I'm not familiar with crude. I don't trade crude, but Harry and West Coast Roy do trade crude. In fact, they're working on a program now. Ray, the 2-hour course will be recorded. And actually, if you take advantage of this offer, you join our chat room. You don't really have to wait for the course. It'll be a lot more in depth, of course, play on words. But we have our archives, and you can go in and listen to all the different moderators and what they've talked about, and their first Tuesdays when we give educational webinars. You can go in and get that information and listen to those recordings as part of this offer. You'll learn enough just from that archives to make it well worth your $97. What happens after the 30 days, if you don't notify us a couple of days before your trial's up, then it's going to automatically renew at $147 a month. If you call us, send us an email. We have 2 support teams, one in Eastern Europe and the Ukraine, believe it or not. Those guys are really good with computers and communicating. Then we have our U.S. support team. We have to have 2 support rooms because, we're open around the clock. Give them a 24-hour notice that you want to cancel, and they'll cancel your subscription. Brad, that's a good question. As you probably know, I mean, my grandparents came over from Greece in the early 1900s. It's a very different country then than it is now. It's socialistic / almost communist in some cases. They had a different work ethic then, and it's a different world, different country. There are some, points well made by the Greeks about the austerity programs that are just literally causing 25% unemployment. If you talk to people on the ground there, like I have, there's a good chance the banks may not open over the weekend if something doesn't happen. So the question is one of the sides going to blink over the weekend? Because when you start talking about the banks not opening, you're talking about something very different. So I think there's a 40% chance someone's going to blink over the weekend. But if not, I just don't see this being, a major market event because as you've read and heard, most of the debt owned by of the Greeks is owned by sovereigns or governments. It's, the banks are no longer holding that debt. So you don't have to worry about contagion or defaults. So, and I really believe, watching these central bankers, they've got their foot on the gas pedal. If Greek exits, the euro and the markets get a little nervous, Draghi's going to step on the gas pedal and flood the system with liquidity. So whatever reaction there's going to be, it's going to be quick and swift if there is one. Today the markets ignored what happened in Greece after the talks broke off. But I think that was all just smoke and mirrors. Today is Triple Witch and Friday, before Triple Witch and Friday. Everything you saw today, in my opinion, is Triple Witch. I mean, after, Oracle's earnings came out last night, and they were hitting that stock about 3 points. And Oracle's a major tech company. I felt it would, I didn't think the market would fall out of bed. I thought it would keep a market cap over the market, keep some pressure on it from going too far. But boy, was I wrong there, because I didn't think the Apples or the IBMs would go far based on what happened with Oracle's earnings. And if you really watched Apple or IBM, they were up a little, but not like they normally would have been in a market up 200 points. But, triple witch, the biotechs were screaming. That took the NASDAQ up for the most part. New record. Now we see what happens tomorrow if there's any follow through. Well, Walter, I appreciate that. It's always nice to know. I've been doing this for a long time, and just like Fasto and I both agree, and we feel strongly about, you don't survive this business all these years unless, you conduct yourself in an ethical manner. So I hope that that's the way it comes across, and I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, Eric, it's not only the Greek pensions are high, but, at one point, if you work for the Greek government, you cannot be terminated. They can't fire you. That's changed recently, but, you couldn't be fired or terminated. What kind of job is that? Brad, you're welcome. Yeah, Varoufakis, it just depends on whether or not, if you live in Greece and you're tired of the um, austerity measures that have been implemented by other European countries, he's a hero. Most folks don't really, and there was some, back and forth on this, but most, being raised in a Greek household and being a student of history, the Greeks and the Germans hate each other's guts. I mean, you've got to go back and just remember that. The Germans did a number on Greece during World War II, and they've never forgotten that. And there's still a lot of generations that are still around that have a good memory of that. So there's that. Don't forget. I mean, there's a lot of animosity, as much as any. Not like the Muslims, the Shiites, and the Sunnis, but there's a lot of bad blood between the Germans and the Greeks. So you can imagine when the Germans start dictating policy, it doesn't go over real well. So as I said, you may think the finance minister is a hero, or you may think he's an idiot. Just depends on where you're standing. Um, your payment does not go to the Ukraine. Has nothing. That's just where these folks are sitting. To service you and answer your support tickets. Your money goes through our system here in the States. It goes through U.S. banks. It is through a system that many of you may be familiar with called Infusionsoft. Uh, this has your credit card and and it's a fair question because a lot of people are concerned about that. They do not have access, to that information. They are strictly there for support. All right. Any other questions for me? The benefit of having someone that's up at night when the U.S. markets are closed, an example is going to be you can't get into the trade room, your password's not working. I can't access the archives. Those are going to be the general questions that you send what we call support ticket to our groups for. There aren't any books, but there's plenty of information in our archives. You have to remember that when I started trading the Globex market, there wasn't a manual because no one had ever traded in it. There wasn't any books written, and I don't know there are any written on it today. Yes, there have been some folks who have talked about, the 24-hour market in their books, but not how to technically access this market and navigate it. David, it doesn't cost anything to set up a futures account, but you generally should have somewhere between 2 and 3,000 minimum, to trade, in our trade room. I think the average probably that you'd want to start with is 5,000. Some have more, some have a little less. But you have to have $500 per S&P contract in your account that you want to trade. That's the average with most platforms. Um, I'm not sure whether this offer is, usually they put a deadline on it. So because there's not usually it's like 48 hours because I don't see anything. And you have to understand, I don't want to sound like an idiot. My marketing folks do all this. So it'll probably be available between now and I would say the next few days at least. The beauty of joining now is you can go straight into our trade room and trade with us tonight. And with this Greece business and the way the market's closed today, Friday options, triple witch, tonight and tomorrow are going to be interesting. Well, thank you, but you know, when you don't know about how many hours or whether an offer that you're conducting expires, like I say, I'm like Fasto. I have my own marketing and support people, and I depend on them to tell me where and when to show up. We open the room, Walter, on Sundays at 5 o'clock. That is correct. And it's open around the clock until Friday at 3 p.m. when the markets close. Well, actually, 4:30, 4:15, excuse me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for spending a few minutes with us. I think that you'll find this Globex market, if you're not familiar with it, to be absolutely fascinating. I know I have, and those who join our room do. It's a different market with a different set of rules, but it is not difficult to learn and to take advantage of. Absolutely, Eric. I mean, when I say you can come into the chat room, immediately, you can observe and listen and learn. You can, most all the platforms have a simulation account you can trade on so you don't use real money, a demo account. You can do that. So there are a lot of things you can do. You can go to our archives and get the information and all the webinars that we've taught and conducted. And then when we have the course, you're just that much farther ahead of the game. But you get a real feel for the room, and how we operate and how we work. And I promise you, you will learn a lot before we ever get to the course. Now, do I say that? Do I say Letta or Lita? Videos are on the website. Well, they're not videos, they're audios. Okay. Denise, thank you for having us. And we always enjoy working with Denise and her group. There's always someone in the room, Walter. It's open around the clock, always staffed by a moderator. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for your time. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. We hope to see you somewhere in the world of trading.